Solidarity, brothers and sisters. It's almost the Labor Day long weekend. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Deeper than the headlines.
The answers you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It's the unofficial end of summer. The Labor Day long weekend is almost here. Canadians lucky enough to own a cottage will be closing it up for the winter. Children will be back in school if they're not already. And Monday is Labor Day. While most Canadians may view Labor Day as just another long weekend, for those in the labor movement, it's a day to pay tribute to the union movement and celebrate the advancement of workers' rights, such as the 5-day work week, paid holidays, and safer working conditions. Labor Day has renewed significance this year because of high-profile labor disputes, the most recent being the Liberal government's failed attempt to end the strike by flight attendants at Air Canada. Those workers, you'll remember, were ordered back to work by the government under what's known as Section 107 of the Labor Code. The government had used that over and over again to end strikes and lockouts. But this time, the workers refused to go back to work, even though it meant they were breaking the law. It marked a pivotal moment for the labor movement, according to the president of the Canadian Labour Congress, Bea Barusk. She told us other unionized workers were ready to take job action in solidarity with the workers at Air Canada.
The labor unity that we saw was incredible. Every single labor leader that belongs to the CLC, representing over 3 million workers in every sector of our economy, right across the country from coast to coast to coast, got onto a very quick Zoom meeting to hear from CUPE and from the Flight Attendants Union about what the issues were and to pledge their support. And their support wasn't just financial support, but it was also to escalate actions. And that means additional picket line actions. And that could have looked like other unions walking out in support of, because everybody understands that you have to be paid for the hours that you work. To see the labor movement come together that quickly and that decisively was quite impressive.
Federal governments didn't always use Section 107 of the Labor Code to intervene in labor disputes. Historically, if the government wanted to end a strike or a lockout, it tried to pass back to work legislation. But recently, bypassing that process with a Section 107 order has been the government's preferred option. It's done that to end work stoppages at WestJet, at the ports, at the railways, and with Canada Post. But after the flight attendants refused to go back to work, Bea Barusk of the Canadian Labour Congress thinks the government's days of using Section 107 are over.
Well, I think the reality is that Section 107 is in effect dead, because the reality is that now that it's been challenged once by workers refusing to obey, I cannot imagine that it's not going to get challenged again. And so government will have to find a different approach to navigating this. Employers have to find a different approach to relying on government intervention, and they need to actually get serious when they come to the bargaining table. These workers came off a 10-year collective agreement, 10 years of pent-up frustration, workers who had been laid off during COVID, workers who, just like everybody else, is facing an affordability crisis. Just to have an employer tell you that we're going to have government intervene and have you back to work in no time.
The Liberal government has intervened in labor disputes no fewer than 5 times in just the last year or so, prompting questions about whether the Liberals really do think workers have a right to strike in this country. The Supreme Court of Canada ruled workers do have a constitutionally protected right to strike in a landmark court case 10 years ago. Patty Hajdu is Canada's Minister of Labour.
Is your government anti-union?
I absolutely reject the notion that our government is anti-union. In fact, under the previous Liberal government, we considerably strengthened the Canada Labour Code. We banned the use of replacement workers, and we stood side by side with unions in terms of supporting their work, not only in labor negotiations, but also in training and recruiting new members. And so this work will continue. We believe that unions are an essential part of a healthy and growing economy.
There is still a big and outstanding labor dispute happening in Canada. It's the situation at Canada Post. But unlike the Air Canada situation, which involved a very profitable airline, Canada Post just recorded a record loss, and the corporation says the workers at Canada Post are making unreasonable demands. The Canadian Labour Congress president believes the Canada Post workers are fighting for all workers.
Canada Post workers, just like every other worker in this country, deserve to have their issues resolved. They deserve to have health and safety issues that they are raising at the bargaining table resolved. They deserve to have a fair wage. They deserve to have job security. And I would remind us that Canada Post has a very important service to Canadians. When you live in northern or rural areas, you are reliant on the post office. CUPW, Canada Post Union, Workers Union, has been for a long time advocating for an expansion of postal services that they could perform in order to provide value add. These are not things that Canada Post Corporation has been keen to implement. Things like postal banking, things like senior check-ins, things like EV charging stations at postal outlets. There's a multitude of things that could be done if Canada Post and, quite frankly, our federal government were keen to figure out a solution to the issue of Canada Post.
Another battleground between political leaders and the labor movement is the issue of remote work. In the province of Ontario, Premier Ford has ordered all Ontario public servants back in the office 4 days a week. In the city of Ottawa, the mayor of Ottawa ordered all city workers back to the office 5 days a week. Premier Ford thinks the federal government should order all of its workers back to the office full time.
Now, the federal government, you need to follow suit. Doing a great job there, and I'm glad. Now, the federal government, you need to follow suit, and all other regions across Ontario. It's time to bring people back to work, that they can be mentored, they can collaborate. It's a lot easier looking at someone in the eye than sitting over a telephone.
But labor leaders don't see it that way. Here again, B. Barusk of the Canadian Labour Congress.
I think workers can be just as effective working from home or remotely than they are in the office. And we know that for federal public service workers, what I hear about all the time is the lack of space actually in office buildings. I hear about the conditions of cramped office space, bad air ventilation. I hear about vermin being found in those office spaces. I don't think our federal government is actually ready to have these workers come back to the office in an efficient or safe way, quite frankly. So finding solutions and finding collaboration, I think, would be the best way to go on this. We also have a housing problem in Canada. We have a climate change issue. Having workers get into their cars to drive to the office every single day when they can be just as efficient working remotely seems to be counteractive in terms of what we need to be doing. So I think we need to be creative and find some solutions.
Labor Day has been a statutory holiday in this country since 1894, always marked on the first Monday in September. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
On News Radio.
And if you are ever looking for a podcast of our show, Now You Know with Rob Snow, we have a great new mobile app that will help you hear our show when you want to. You can listen live. You can listen to the podcast. It's called the Seeker app. That's spelled Seekr, and it has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. You can download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled Seekr, and Now You Know with Rob Snow is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, coming up here on Now You Know with Rob Snow, very special guest for everyone today. He is the new MP for the riding of Battle River Crowfoot. He is still the leader of the Conservative Party and the leader of the official opposition in the House of Commons. The House of Commons about 17 days away from resuming action for the fall sitting. Pierre Poilievre is going to join us in just a few minutes' time. He had a news conference earlier today. He was talking once more about crime and law and order, citing, of course, this very high-profile story out of Lindsay, Ontario, where you had a man sleeping in his apartment 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Another man broke into that apartment, and the man in the apartment fought off the intruder. And the intruder was badly injured, ended up in the hospital. And it was the victim of the break and enter who is now facing serious criminal charges, facing charges of aggravated assault with a weapon. So you've heard from Ontario Premier Doug Ford, for example. We need a castle law. in Canada. Pierre Poilievre will weigh in on that debate, proposing some changes to the criminal code. That's just ahead. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know, and this is News Radio.
You have questions
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
on News Radio.
We are just waiting to connect with the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of the official opposition, your new MP for Battle River, Crowfoot, Alberta, Pierre Poilievre. Probably running a bit behind schedule today. I know his news conference started about a half an hour late. But he did have a news conference with the media today. Took a number of questions from news reporters, including his opinion of the performance of the Prime Minister so far. This is Pierre Poilievre on what has been delivered so far by Mark Carney.
Well, I don't believe in breaking the country down by demographics. I believe in working for every Canadian of every age and every gender and every race. I think we have to stop dividing our country into categories. Every Canadian, regardless of their age, should enjoy peace and security in their homes, should be able to afford food when they go to the grocery store, should know that their children and grandchildren will be able to get a job and buy a home. That was the promise of this country. And, it is incredible how much that promise has been destroyed after 10 years of Liberals. And the other thing I've noticed is how disappointed people are in Mark Carney. He made such wonderful promises, and I don't blame people who voted for him. He really promised the world, but look what's actually happened. Look how things have changed. Inflation is now rising again. Unemployment is higher than it was under the previous government. We all said that the last Prime Minister had lost control of spending, but now under Carney the deficit is twice as big as the one Trudeau left behind. So it seems that when Mr. Carney promised he'd be different, everything is worse. That said, we're happy to work with him and with anyone to reverse the Liberal damage, to rein in out of control cost of living, crime, immigration, unemployment, to make this a country, once again, where hard work gets you a beautiful home like this one here, in a safe neighborhood, where when you get home at night, you know that your troubles are left behind and your family will be safe. And maybe even a beautiful flag on the front porch to remind you how great our country is. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Pierre Poilievre today at his news conference, which had a law and order theme. You heard Doug Ford recently talk about the need for a castle law, citing this case out of Lindsay, Ontario, and the break-in in the apartment, and the man in the apartment now facing criminal charges for defending himself, defending his property. Pierre Poilievre on that today at this news conference.
Well, in my proposed bill, the stand on guard law says that if two things happen, one, someone enters your home illegally, and two, they're a threat to your family. Actually, I'm going to start that again. Let me say it very precisely. The two conditions. If someone enters your home illegally and uninvited, and two, you reasonably believe they're a threat to your family, then it is assumed that all the force you use against that person is reasonable and legal. That is the test that our bill will bring in.
Pierre Poilievre on the need for a castle law. He's calling it a stand your ground law. Castle law, stand your ground law. Not really the same thing, at least in the American context. Castle law is about your home, the idea your home is your castle. A stand your ground law in the United States is a little bit different in that it's anywhere in a public space would be a stand your ground law. Do we have Pierre Poilievre on the line now? Hello, Mr. Poilievre, are you with me?
I am. Do you hear me?
Yeah, very good to hear from you, sir. So
Thank you for having me, Rob.
This. Very good to hear from you. Our time is very limited. What What are you proposing here with a castle law, or what you're calling a stand your ground law?
I'll start with the way it works right now. There is Section 34 of the Criminal Code does allow self-defense, but only based on 9 very convoluted and subjective conditions that judges and police and prosecutors have interpreted in ways that have actually harmed law-abiding people who've tried to defend themselves. There was one guy in Collingwood who was able to use the intruders' shotgun against them, 3 masked intruders, and managed to fire off a few shots at them with their own gun. And then he ended up charged and ultimately had to spend 2 years clearing his name. There's another gentleman in Milton who had 5 masked and armed gunmen who came in, tied him up, hog-tied him, and he broke free, used his own legal firearm to shoot 2 of the offenders. He was charged with second-degree murder and had to spend $130,000 on bail, was forced by bail conditions to live with his grandmother, and it took 5 months of hell to get out of that. And the stories go on and on and on. So what I'm proposing is to make a very simple rule in the same section of the Criminal Code. If someone, A, invades your house illegally, and B, you believe they present a threat to yourself or anyone else in the house, then any force you apply against them is deemed lawful. Very simple. So you can take what action you believe necessary if someone breaks into your house and you believe threatens your family.
Okay. Look, I know your time is tight and that you're running a bit behind schedule. Our time is tight as well. So we will have to stop for the news across all of our news radio stations. I hope we can connect in a few minutes, Mr. Poilievre, but we will have to leave our conversation right now. I am Rob Snow. That's Pierre Poilievre. Hopefully we're back in 4 minutes from now because we have a lot more to talk about. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
We're back with the leader of the Conservative Party, the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, who is talking about bringing in a stand your ground law for Canada. First of all, Mr. Poilievre, thank you for being patient and sticking around for us. We really appreciate the time today. It's really great to hear from you.
Great to be with you. Good to hear your voice. It's been too long, Rob.
Yeah. Right now, as it stands with this Section 35 of the Criminal Code, Canadians can use force to defend themselves, but the force must be reasonable and it must be proportionate. In the case of the Lindsay, Ontario situation, the Crown has deemed that the response from that particular individual, the victim of the break-in, the response was not reasonable and not proportionate, so these charges have been laid. How does your proposal differ from what's on the books right now?
What's on the books right now is in Section 34.2 of the Criminal Code, the judge is required to consider 9 different highly subjective factors to determine whether or not the self-defense was lawful.
Okay.
Someone busts into your house, Rob. You don't have time to think about 9 different factors to analyze it from nearly a dozen different legal angles. You want to protect your kids, yourself, your loved ones, and you'll do whatever it takes to do it. And that's the way it should be. So I've collapsed all of that into a simple principle that applies in your home. If someone, A, invades your home without invitation, B, threatens your family, that you believe they threaten you or your family, then you are automatically entitled to take whatever force you think necessary to stop them. That's the principle.
Okay. I want to see what comes of this, but there are so many other things that I must ask you about. And I want to ask you about the economy. First of all, there have been 2 very, very weak economic reports this week. Yesterday on this show, we were talking about the payrolls report that came out yesterday from Statistics Canada. Number of people on the payrolls in Canada went down by tens of thousands of people let go. Today, the GDP report came out. Now, this is for the second quarter. We're well into the third quarter right now. The economy contracted by 1.6% in the second quarter. The Carney government, of course, is going to say, well, this is the Trump effect. This is because we're in a tariff war with our largest trading partner, which would seem to be, to some, a valid excuse. What do you see as being responsible for the weak performance of the Canadian economy?
Well, I think it's 10 years of terrible Liberal policies. Mr. Carney is in a tough position now because he keeps changing his story. He said that he got a great deal with Donald Trump. He says it's the best deal in the world with the Americans, that the tariffs aren't very high because of his diplomatic maneuvers. But on the other hand, he wants to blame them for how badly his economy is performing. You can't have it both ways. He said he was going to solve the tariffs. He said he would negotiate a win. He said he'd have a deal by July 21st. Those were his promises. Now, you might say, well, nobody can do that. Well, why did he promise it? That was his promise. But you can't blame any other foreign leader for the fact that we have more money being spent on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. That's a Liberal decision, which Mark Carney has not reversed. You can't blame the foreign government for the fact that we have the second slowest building permits, particularly for large projects like pipelines, mines, LNG plants. Again, those are federal rules. You can't blame a foreign leader for the fact that it takes 19 years to get a mine approved in Canada. Those are federal rules that stand in the way. So it is the Liberal policies that Mr. Carney has kept in place for the now 5 months he's been in power, policies he supported under the earlier Liberal government that have made our economy weak, costly, and have expelled tens of billions of dollars of investment from our country. We need to reverse those policies to reverse the mess we're in.
Okay, what did you think about what you heard this week from the Prime Minister, but also the Energy Minister? They were in Germany, sounding a lot different from Mr. Trudeau was sounding 3 years ago on LNG exports to Europe, something you've been promoting for years. What do you think of this? Is a complete turnaround for the government?
Well, in rhetoric, but what Mark Carney has proven is that while he will plagiarize my words, he's not doing anything to put them into action. So he wants to sell. He now suddenly realizes what I've been saying for 3 years, which is we should sell LNG to Europe. Okay, where's the pipeline to get the gas to coastal ports? Where are the liquefaction plants that need to convert that gas into a liquid so it can go on a ship? He's not even identified where he would put those plants or pipelines. He hasn't even been willing to say that he would endorse such plants or pipelines. And he has said that he won't do it if he doesn't have consensus from every premier and every interest group. So it's all fine and good for him to make these comments, but as Elvis Presley would say, a little less conversation, a little more action, please.
Okay. We're going to have to wrap it up there. I know your time is tight. Our time is tight. I really appreciate the time today, and I hope we can catch up soon. Thank you, Mr. Poilievre.
Excellent. Good to be with you, Rob. Bye now.
Yeah, bye-bye. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party. He's in Brampton, Ontario today. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. Tom Korski, just ahead from Blacklock's reporter. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Well, he's been minding Ottawa's business all week long. Tom Korski's back with us, the managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. How are you this week?
I'm well, thank you, Rob.
Yeah, great to hear from you. Live radio, always an adventure, I have to say.
My pleasure.
I would love to chat a little bit, Tom, about the future of 24 Sussex Drive, the long abandoned yet still official residence of the Prime Minister of Canada. I hope I get some calls during Talkback a little bit later in our show on this topic. There's an opinion column Toronto Star, the writer, makes the case. While we're considering projects in the national interest, how about rebuilding 24 Sussex? That's a project in the national interest. Some might see it that way. I don't quite see it that way. What has the National Capital Commission, which is responsible for all of these official residences, whether it's the 24 Sussex, Harrington Lake, the Stornoway, the farm for the Speaker of the House, what has the NCC said in the past about what it would cost to fix up 24 Sussex?
Minimum repairs, they put it at almost $37 million, Rob. $37 million, which is
$37 million.
5 times what Cabinet paid for when they bought that property in 1943 during the war. That Star claim, that's a bunch of baloney. The first 8 prime ministers of Canada lived in their own accommodation. The last one to have his own accommodation, Louis Saint Laurent, lived at an apartment building. It's been torn down now in Ottawa. It's called the Roxborough. It's near, for anyone who knows Ottawa, it's near the City Hall Park there.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sure. He used to walk to work and walk home for lunch and then walk back to work. And you say, oh, well, that was an unsophisticated time. Well, no, what they did was they balanced the budget and taxes were low and everybody was happy. And that's when they started to look for ways to spend money like official residences. You're right, we have 6 of them. They cost a fortune. My favorite part is you listen to the landlord, the Public Works Department, or the National Capital Commission, the federal agency that runs these, and you would think they just took over the keys last week. These properties have been under federal landlords for 60, 70 years, and they drove them right into the ground.
That's right.
So there's never been a proper audit. I can just imagine.
$37 million. $37 million. That's a government estimate. So if they started the work, you take that and add 50% to it. $37 million. This has always been my thinking. Okay. But first of all, bulldoze 24 Sussex. I've been to the place. And if you haven't been to the place, let me tell you, you're not missing much. It's when I was there, it was a dump. Quite frankly, the place is a dump. It's a nice looking dump, but it's still a dump. They have spent, during the Trudeau years, they spent, I think it was $11 million fixing up the summer residence. Harrington Lake, just over on the Quebec side. It's, for the Prime Minister, it's 15 minutes away. The place is a fortress. You can't get to the place if security is a concern. $11 million. In my opinion, make Harrington Lake the official residence of the Prime Minister. It'd be a fine home for a prime minister, and they've spent a fortune on it, Tom.
Oh, sure. And you know what the upkeep is at that lake property? It's $20,000 a month. $20,000.
Yeah.
You described 24 Sussex accurately. You can find pictures of that property when it was taken over by the Government of Canada landlords. It was a pristine, stunning Edwardian manor. And what they did is they sent in the public works lads to bring it up to code, air quotes, bring it up to code. That's why you see Home Depot light fixtures and drywall. They have been destroying that historic property for 60 years. Yeah. And there we are. So, of course, if they can't run a passport office, they don't know how to renovate an historic building. Failure speaks for itself, Rob.
Yeah. They spared no expense fixing up Harrington Lake. What did they spend redoing the kitchen? It must be a heck of a kitchen at Harrington Lake, Tom.
Oh, it was $735,000. Remember, there was a conservative MP, Ben Lobb, from Huron, Ontario. His head exploded in committee. He said, how's that even possible? He said, I've done a few renovations. Drake's kitchen doesn't cost $735,000. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I have to see the inside of that kitchen. $735,000. This is why I say be careful. If they say it would only cost $37 million to renovate 24 Sussex, remember, they spent $735,000 on a kitchen. Okay. Look, we're going to be right back. Excellent reporting this week from Blacklock's on the federal government and how much the payroll is expected to balloon in the future. It's an eye-popping number. Tom Korski will be right back with us here on News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Back with Tom Korski, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter. How much is the federal government's payroll and what's it expected to cost in the future, Tom?
And says the budget office, $71 billion. That's almost twice, not quite, the cost of federal transfers for Medicare. It's a lot of money, much larger than the national defense budget. $71 billion, headed for, say the analysts, $76 billion by 2029. The problem they have, Rob, is they have increased the payroll, Liberal Party has, by about a third. And they say, well, the population has grown as well, but we see serious anomalies. There are, for instance, the Department of Veterans Affairs, thanks to many years of peacetime. We have fewer veterans in this country than we have had a generation ago, and yet the Department of Veterans Affairs grows every single year. It's an inexact claim to say that every public employee is serving the public. It's a huge payroll, biggest in the country.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the growth in the public service has far outpaced any growth in the population. I mean, this idea that, well, the population is grown. Yeah, sure, it's grown. It's it's ballooned in the last, particularly the last 5 to 10 years, because of the generous immigration policies of the Trudeau government. But even with the growth in the population, it in no way measures up to the growth in the size of the public service. I mean, it's many multiples higher. Here's what I want to get at. Let's say someone's working full-time for the government. Full-time salary, pension, benefits. What's that costing the taxpayer for one worker these days?
$172,000 a year, says the budget office. That includes, as you mentioned, the benefits, sick days. They have their own pharmacare program, and the pensions. It has been established statistically, Rob, that for some people who get in on public service quite early in their professional lives, you can work 26 years, retire in your mid-50s, and statistically spend another 26 years or more on pension superannuation.
Sure.
Now, that's a pretty sweet deal, which would be alarming for the majority of private sector taxpayers who have zero pension. It's their savings. It's their home. That's it. They pay for all their drug costs. It's unsustainable.
Yeah. $172,000 per employee, salary, benefits. Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Senator Adler, Charles Adler, legendary radio broadcaster, of course. It has been amazing to me to watch his conversion from conservative firebrand to liberal lapdog. I must say that is quite stunning, really. What has the liberal appointee to the upper chamber said about climate change, and how does that compare to his travels between Winnipeg, where he lives, and Ottawa, where he serves?
Beautiful speeches about climate change, and I mean that quite seriously. They would make Jesus weep. They were that beautiful. He's called it the greatest moral crisis of our time. What did Adler say? He said, I quote him, "No matter how much I read, I never feel I understand enough about the issue of our time, climate change," end of quote. Whoa, look out. Here comes Senator Adler out of the business class lounge at the airport, where he likes to fly home to Winnipeg 13 out of 14 weeks when the Senate was in session. These are 4-day weekends. No stated public purpose. We called his office, no comment. The cost was $43,000. The carbon emissions, my goodness, over 131,000 kilograms. Spend. So much for moral crises.
Quite something. Isn't that something? Okay. We'll wrap it up there for this week, Tom. Great work as always. Enjoy your Labor Day long weekend, and we'll catch up next week. Yeah, bye-bye. The managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter is Tom Korski. Hey, Talkback is coming up. Help us get into that long weekend, will you? It's the Friday free-for-all, so pick a topic. Start a conversation. And we will follow along right after the news on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talk Back. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And welcome to the Friday free-for-all. Friday before the Labor Day long weekend. That's an extra special Friday around here. We don't come up with the topics on Fridays. We leave that job up to you. So what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, I mean, there's always news, and we had a lot of news this week. So pick a topic, and we'll roll with it. You want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, just feel free to raise that here, whatever it happens to be. Okay, serious, not so serious. We have a phone line for you. And our phone lines are open right now, 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. If you've never called before, just mention that to us, okay? And we'll make your call a priority. Here is a conversation starter, however, for you that's in the news today. And it's important. This is the question. Who do you blame for the weak Canadian economy? Who do you blame for the weak Canadian economy? Who is to blame for this? Donald Trump? Because of his tariffs? Or the Liberal government, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney? Look, folks, it is becoming clearer by the day. Our economy is struggling. Big time. We talked yesterday about the payrolls report that was released by StatsCan. Not a good report. In fact, an ugly report. Number of Canadians on the payrolls of the nation declined in the most recent month. Tens of thousands of people not on the payroll anymore. Declines in payroll employees, many industries. Almost no growth in others. The strongest payroll growth was in the government. And we mentioned yesterday, average weekly earnings in Canada, $1,300 a week before deductions. And most of you told me that's barely enough to make ends meet these days because of the higher cost of living, especially housing. So that was not a very good economic report. And today, I mean, we had the benchmark report, the most important economic report that StatsCan releases, the GDP report. I mean, this is the report. How's the economy doing? And the answer is it's not doing well. The economy did not grow at all in the last quarter. The second quarter, the economy contracted. Okay? Contracted. Meaning if we have another quarter like the one we just had, if the third quarter is the same as the second quarter, our economy will officially be in a recession. And you think about the economic situation, if things really improve since, say, April? Or are they about the same? Maybe even worse? It's a terrible economic report. GDP for the quarter declined 0.4%. So you annualize that over 4 quarters, you get 1.6%. The economy shrank by 1.6%. Terrible. And all kinds of bad news in this report. Huge decline in exports, down 7.5%. The auto sector just brutalized. Exports of auto parts down 24%. Machinery exports down 18%. Travel down 11%. Business investment down. Commercial construction down. And on the personal level, wage growth, slowest in almost 10 years. Savings, the household savings rate down 5% because of lower growth in wages. Quote, household incomes were relatively weak. Corporate incomes down, government revenues down, but only because the government canceled the carbon tax. Who's to blame for that? Here's what you're going to hear. Mark Carney is going to say, hey, I just got here. I've only been the prime minister for 4 months. It's not our fault that our country is involved in a trade war with our most important economic partner, the United States. That's Donald Trump. Of course, there's going to be economic damage from Trump's trade war. Here it is. Why do you think I'm spending so much time dealing with the issue? I mean, that's the obvious liberal line. But what do you think of it? The Canadian economy is taking a beating because of Donald Trump. Do you look at it that way, or do you look at it another way? And you put the blame on the Prime Minister of Canada and the government of the day. If it was any other time, the government would be wearing this. It would have to answer for this poor economic performance. Folks, the economy's shrinking. People are losing their jobs. Wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. We're moving in reverse. But how much blame does Mark Carney get for this, or his government? Or is this Donald Trump's doing? Because he's waging a trade war. And it's hurting our economy. Love to hear from you on that issue. I think that's a great conversation starter for the Friday free-for-all. But as I said, it is the Friday free-for-all. So we are open line, open topic today. You pick a discussion point, and we will follow along. We'd love to hear from you. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. That's our call-in line. If you've never called before, mention that to us, and you'll be up first. We'll make your call a priority. 1-833-668-2577. Please join us on the Friday Free-for-All Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday free-for-all Talkback. Friday before the long weekend. Reza up first. Calling from Calgary.
Hi,
today.
Rob.
What's on your
How are
mind?
you?
Hi there. Good. Thank you.
How are you? Thanks
Just
for your
great.
show.
Thank you for calling my show. What do you want to talk about?
I always try to find time to listen to you. Anyhow, yeah, so I don't believe economies are built in few years or destroyed in few years. Our politicians have failed to provide a vision and a strategy how to build economy for a large country like Canada. We want to serve many masters. We want to save the environment. We want to keep this group happy. All the projects that could contribute the overall GDP, and then be asked why we are here. I don't think it's one element. We just can't point fingers to Trump or this. I think majority of it, 70% of it, is our own fault. We should take responsibility as a nation, and even. Look at, we had BlackBerry. Is anybody talking about we don't have BlackBerry? We were number one, for example. Why did that happen? What there?
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Okay.
It's sophisticated. It's not just one politician can fix it. It doesn't matter if it's liberal or conservative. We just we don't have vision for many decades. I came to Canada in 2002, and since then I see we are just shrinking because of lack of a strategy. We say we should not import EV vehicles from China. Why? Then I have to go buy a $60,000 American EV. I can buy that for $20,000 from China.
Okay, I get it. You think there's been a lack of vision under both conservative and liberal governments. I'm going to move along, Reza, only because your phone quality is not great, and it's very hard. We're only hearing every second word you're saying, so we'll move along. Thank you for your call. Have a great long weekend and your kind words. Alan in Kitchener, Ontario. Hello, Alan. Hi,
Greetings, Rob. How goes the day?
Oh, it's always a battle, you know. What's on your mind today?
The comment you're starting on, the opener with the idea of whose fault it is. Right now, we're not just in a trade war. We're in a sovereignty war because Trump has repeatedly stated that he wants Canada to be a 51st state and has attacked us more deeply. Our tariff levels compared to Mexico or anyone else is 1 point. And that it's going around the world, but it's hitting us harder because he wants us to capitulate, and this is one of the tools. the second piece that Raisa did touch on is it's longer term. Yes, we're just coming out of finally stepping out into our own after the COVID shutdowns and crossovers, and then we get hit with this before the resiliency is built back up. I can't see it's a specific politician or party's fault, but I can point it a lot south of the border as to where the most recent pain seems to be coming from. That's at least my take on it.
Okay. So you would be more inclined then to say Donald Trump, the trade war, the tariff war is responsible for much of this, as opposed to say maybe the economic policies of Mark Carney or the government that preceded Mark Carney?
In this case, I would, because we don't know where we would have gone. Things where I think we're starting to recover, and then we get hit with uncertainty and unpredictability at best, and just flying off on a whim because something is not liked by the government in the U.S. and decides to take it out on whoever they can, or whoever they choose, rather.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Alan in Kitchener for being a first-time caller today as well. Good to hear from you. I think we have time to fit one more in here. How about Scott in Elmira? Hello, Scott.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm just like I told the last guy, sir. I'm just fine, but it's a battle. All right.
All right. Well,
what's on your mind today?
It's been
you got a beef, okay?
Me for months and months and months. Every time you hear anything coming out of a political party or construction on something or anything, it's $1 billion. That'll be $2.5 billion. That's $1 trillion a year. There's 1.9 billion. Nobody even knows what a million looks like. And who's doing the math? And who's checking the math and all this?
Right.
All this funding that people are talking about. Like, I don't believe any of it, because I look at a household and what it costs to run a household, and we're nowhere near that kind of money, obviously. But I'd like to know who's gathering up all these figures for all these different expenditures, and is it true? That's what bothers me. Like, they're just coming up with numbers, like random numbers, I think, picking it out of the sky.
Okay.
What's
so what has kind of prompted this? Something must have sparked this frustration in you. I'm just curious as to what that might be.
You hear it all the time. Like, they're quoting, for example, a tunnel that's going to be $1.5 billion a kilometer. Where's the quote that backs that up?
Right. Okay. You're talking about. Are you talking about the tunnel under the Highway 401?
Well, that's one example, but there's many others, and I don't know specifically.
Sure.
I'm just like, every time you hear something, it's so many $1 billion or $1 trillion.
Right.
There's nothing.
Right. So for example, here's an example for you. We're going to buy new submarines. Right. We're going to buy new submarines. 12 of them.
Yeah.
And they ask the government, how much are the submarines going to cost? And they say, well, the early estimate is between 60 and $100 billion. 60 and $100 billion. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Let me see the quote. I want to see the quote that backs that up.
Yeah. Well, is it 60? Is it 60 or is it 100? Because 100 is a lot more than 60, right? Yeah. When you're talking
and then
billions.
When they build something, we're 200 million over budget. Well, whoever the contractor is, hey man, this is it. Your PO was for X. That's all you're getting.
Okay, thank you. Sure thing. Yeah. Be right back. Friday Free for All Talk Back. We're just getting started. Join the conversation. Start one of your own. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday, free for all. Talk Back. Pick a topic. We're wide open today. Shiri is up next on Talk Back. Hi, Shiri. Shiri? Am I saying that right? Hello, Shiri? Sherry? All right, not there. Al, let's go to Al up next then. Let's try Al here. See if Al is on the line. Hi, Al.
How are you, sir?
Just fine, sir.
You're still with the problems with the Canadian economy. Have you counted the number of rallies Trump has had in the U.S., like at the auto workers in Warren, Michigan, and in Detroit, all over, where he's told the auto workers, I'm going to get your jobs back from Canada. They are all coming back, and basically don't give a damn for Canada ever having an auto industry. So, when you get a guy like that at the top of the pile, oh man. Of course, I'm glad he got off on a after his Federal Reserve for that lady for mortgage fraud, because there's no subject he knows better than mortgage fraud. There's a bank in New York would deal with that guy for the last 30 years. He had to go deal with the Russians and all over the world except the U.S. because of his mortgage fraud. Maybe I'm just too much of a hater, but you have yourself a good weekend.
Okay, but let me ask you this. The American economy is doing very well. GDP growth in the United States, 3.3%. Okay?
Yes.
In Canada, negative 1.6%. Does the government of the day bear any responsibility for that?
Well, with the situation the way it is, no, I don't think so.
No, none? Really?
Well, yeah, because how do you change gears? Number one, we're trying our damnedest. We're going to get some deals going with Germany, the UK, and Japan, etc. But it takes time to get things done like that. And I'm hoping within 12 months we will have the strongest economy, and the U.S. can go plumb too, because we've got the resources to do it. And it's going to be a resource-based economy, but along with that, we'll build our cars and we'll do what has to be done. Like the one that scares me right now is the timber industry. There's so many guys got laid off again in the last month. Around
here, I mean, not far from where I am, and and I'm in rural Quebec, about a half an hour from here, we had a mill close not that long ago. 500 people worked there. 500 people worked there in a town of 3,000 or 4,000. You can imagine the economic impact that is having on that little town. I mean, it's devastating to see. Yeah. All right. But you're saying the government of the day bears little to no responsibility for these poor economic numbers. I don't know if that. Okay, maybe you can blame some of it on Trump, maybe even most of it, but you're going to let the prime minister off scot-free for these economic numbers? Oh, let's debate that on Talkback.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Back on the Friday free-for-all Talkback. The economy's, I think, the biggest story of the day in this report from StatsCan. The economy shrank 1.6%. That's annualized. It was 0.4% for the quarter. But we're asking, look, we're in a trade war with the United States. Is this Trump's doing that the economy is moving in reverse with a huge drop in exports? Or does the Liberal government deserve some of the blame? I mean, think about this. Okay, Mark Carney's new to the role, but all the people around Mark Carney, all Trudeau's people. Mark Carney's supposed to be the one with the heavy-duty economic credentials, hasn't been able to solve the Trump problem, at least yet. Some people are inclined to think he may have made things worse by imposing counter tariffs. Still no sign of a deal. Third quarter well underway now. It's anything like the way the economy performed in the second quarter. Folks, we are looking at a recession. Who do you blame for the poor performance of the Canadian economy? 1-833-668-2577. Connor is in Wingham, Ontario. Hi there, Connor.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Where is Wingham? Where is Wingham, Ontario? I don't know where Wingham is.
Near Goderich, about a.
Near Goderich. Okay, I know where Goderich is. Sure. Yeah. All right.
Okay, yeah, it's between Goderich and Hanover, if you know where that is.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
So basically, my thoughts on the whole economy issue is that, 3 years ago, Germany approached us and was asking for our natural gas.
Absolutely, sir.
And at that point, the Liberal government could not make a business case for it, but it was going to increase our GDP by $1 trillion. And I believe that the current leader of the party has a good stake in that, because at the time he would have been the chief economic advisor for the Liberals. So he would have been consulted on that. Now he's working to claw back that deal and scrape it back. But we could have had that up and running by now and been in very good shape.
Well, one would have hoped so. I don't know the way things move in this country. I mean, that was 3 years ago. The German chancellor came to Canada. There was an ask about natural gas, and Mr. Trudeau made the famous line, "Well, we don't think there's a business case for that." But maybe it even goes beyond that. I mean, you know, think about all the things they've been talking about in Western Canada and the great natural resources abundance in Western Canada. And they've been dealing with things like a no pipelines bill and the West Coast tanker ban. This is a government that wants to impose and still wants to impose an emissions cap. We had a carbon tax. Okay, in Central Ontario, we the governments, both the Ontario government and the federal government, I mean, $50 billion worth of investments into EV factories that really have yet to produce any economic benefit at all. I would also note, where is the resolution to the China situation and the tariffs that are hurting our canola farmers in the West, but not just our canola farmers, our pork producers, production, big industry in Quebec, seafood. There are tariffs on our seafood. $1 billion worth of seafood that comes from Nova Scotia. This is not a new issue. These have been around for a long time as retaliation for the 100% tariffs. All of this is having an economic impact. To me, it's just not all a Trump issue. What do you think?
No, I see that the same way. Is like Trump is just a little issue. He's a 40-year problem. Right, that's the way I see Trump. And he's going to flex himself, and he's going to make himself look like the big man, and he's going to say the 51st state stuff to get his support from the guys down south. But the reality is, he's only a 4-year problem.
Okay.
We needed to diversify beyond the states a long time ago, but that hasn't happened. We've just become reliant on them, and that's what's hurting us now. We are one of the highest taxed we have some of the highest corporate taxes in North America. There is no incentive other than natural resources for businesses to come here.
All right. Thank you so much for your call. Good to fit you in there in Wingham, Ontario today, not far from Goderich. And in Goderich, probably best known as the home of the Bruce Nuclear Power Plant facility there in Ontario. Doug. Let's take Doug's call. I want to get a call in from Halifax today. Let's go to Halifax. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Rob. How are you, sir?
Very good, sir. Looking forward to the long weekend.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Sir. Thank you for taking my call. Let me just say, number one, I appreciate your show. And number two, we appreciate you here in Nova Scotia.
Very kind of you to say.
Rob, you're welcome. Rob, you know what? I just want to talk about the economic situation in Canada right now. And I want to echo one of your previous callers' comments. Number one, Mark Carney is not Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau, we're still talking about him, but he's gone, thankfully. and now we have Mark Carney. I think it's going to take time. I think what he's doing are good things. And again, Rob, it's going to take time. But when you look at the situation in 2026, 2027, I think Canada is going to be in a much better position.
What gives you that confidence? Why do you feel that's the case?
Well, a couple of examples. I used to work for the Coast Guard in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and I know about the Kitimat LNG terminal there, and he wants to expand that. I agree with a pipeline from Alberta to New Brunswick, and then from there to to Europe and other places. And Rob, I just think that the things he's doing now, again, it's going to take time. But what he's doing now is going to pay dividends in the future, I believe.
Okay. I believe on the West Coast, the most likely route, if it ever comes to fruition, we'll have to see what happens. It'll go to Prince Rupert in northern British Columbia. Okay. We'll call that Northern Gateway 2.0. You would be more familiar with the area than I would. It seems as though if there's going to be a pipeline at all to the east, it's not going to go to St. John by the sounds of it. They're hot right now on completely rebuilding the port and making a kind of a super port in Churchill, Manitoba. That's something to watch. Plans for Churchill, Manitoba. That's known
Rob,
for
I think
polar bears right now.
Absolutely,
so
but you know what, Rob? I think I think that's fine too. It's all good.
Yeah.
Again, in 2026,
sure, that'd be good.
2027, in 2026, 2027, we're going to be in a better spot. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Bye-bye. 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on the Friday Free for All Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback is Florence in Calgary today. Hi, Florence.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. This is my first time calling.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm originally from Saskatchewan, a farmer's daughter, and I'm just very saddened with the government right now and how they have not stood up for the canola farmers. The billions of dollars that will be lost. The farmers are struggling, and I just feel like Saskatchewan has been left out, and the southern farmers in Alberta with the canola, and it just sort of saddens me. And yes, I do blame Carney a lot and the Liberal Party for our economic situation. I do listen to the news.
Yes.
But my heart goes to the farmers in Saskatchewan and southern Alberta right now.
Now, your premier there, Scott Moe, is going to China. Try and do something to get some tariff relief. I mean, 78% tariff on seed for canola. And he has called on the federal government to remove these tariffs that we have on these made-in-China electric vehicles. That prompted this whole thing. We have 100% tariff, which basically shuts out these Chinese-made electric vehicles from coming to Canada. Would you agree with that we should maybe take a look at lifting those tariffs in order to get some kind of breakthrough? I don't know. What do you think?
I think Carney should be going there instead of.
You think Carney should go there? Okay.
I think Carney needs to do it. This is a federal thing, and it's unfortunate that the Premier of Saskatchewan has got to go and fight for the farmers. It should be the Liberal government fighting for the farmers. Yeah. And I'm actually living in Calgary, but I grew up on a farm. I know, but you know what?
I was doing some research about canola, the canola industry in Canada. It's a big industry in Alberta too. They grow lots of canola in Alberta. It's $13 billion a year in canola exports from Alberta. It's not just Saskatchewan, Manitoba as well, of course. All right. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think you've made your point well, Florence. Thank you for your call today. Robert is up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Robert, hi there. Randall, then. All right, let's try Randall. Stavely?
How you doing, Rob?
Good. Yep. Stavely, is that where you are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know where that is either. Where's that? Yep, hear you just fine.
Between Nanton and Clare's home there.
Okay, all right. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind? I tell you, well, first of all, the canola, poor lady calling in, farmer's daughter. bless their heart and bless our farmers. This is nothing new. This happened in '68. This is all part and parcel of what they do with these organized schemes called trade wars. You want to end trade wars? You want to end tariffs? It's real simple, Rob. And I wrote about this in 2013. I talked to the immigration and employment minister back in the day of Alberta. And she informed me, and I said from the beginning, our TFW program was going to tank us and was going to cause a lot of economic problems. And here we are. And how has that happened? Well, first of all, our youth have lost their opportunities to flip a burger, do some gas station jobs and stuff like that. So they have no impetus. They have no desire to work anymore, right? And where I'm going with this is we need to bring manufacturing back to our country. We don't need to be importing dollar spatulas and stuff that we have to buy 10 of them in a year, useless, recyclable stuff that it's just disposable stuff, right? We don't need that. What we need to do is get our youth back into our trade schools. We need to get the international students out of our trade schools. It's good to have a couple of students coming here, sure, but we don't need 20, 30% of them in our trade schools. We really don't need that. We need to get our youth back into the trade schools, back into learning how to build, how to construct, how to engineer, all that stuff. When we do that, then we have a strong workforce, and then we can start manufacturing more goods. Canada has a lack of, what do we rely on here? We rely on a little bit of fish, some steel, some oil, and our grains. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not relying on a lot of resources. We have but why are we importing cars?
The auto sector is a huge industry, right?
I agree there, but the auto sector is not. No, I'm a conservative, but when it comes to the auto sector, I'm a bit of a liberal. I think we're manufacturing too many vehicles here. Just bottom line. That's just for me. But I think if we just get our youth back to work, then we can. It's going to take a decade or two, but we have to bring back the manufacturing. We have to stop importing everything. We don't need anything from the States. We can do what they can do. We really don't need to trade with them. China, we certainly don't need to trade as much as we do with China because all they're doing is propping up these dollar stores, which, like I said,
don't know. You're shutting out Canadian industry to a lot of opportunity. You're really going to shut Canadian industry, off to the two largest economies in the world? Why would you do that?
Well, no. Well, what we do is when we close that tap back, Rob, we encourage them to come to us with better propositions. You understand? And that's what we have to do. We're strong. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of steel and lumber and oil. We can be a player here. We just have to have the cojones.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the call from Stavely, Alberta today. I'm Rob Snow. Have your say. Friday Free for All talk back here. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It is our Friday Free for All talk back. I'm Rob Snow. Pick a topic of discussion. We will do our best to follow along. 1-833-668-2577. Kaylee is a first-time caller today in Alberta.
Hi, Rob.
Kaylee.
How are you?
Oh, fine and dandy today. Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Glad to hear it. What's on your mind?
I'm a first-time caller. I'm in my early 30s. My best friend is Japanese. She's, I honestly can say to Mr. Stavely, I'm just appalled by the ignorance that I heard there, because I have many foreign friends and they are 100% the hardest working people that I know. And in Canada, we would be lucky to have them. And they're doing jobs that people don't want to do, like I don't know any 16-year-olds that want to work cleaning houses and get up at 5:30 in the morning to serve people coffee. I'm a farmer's daughter too, so I absolutely agree with the canola thing. That's a really scary thing that's happening there, and I think I'm happy that Scott do something hopefully about that, but he's not the one in power that's making these tariffs, so I don't know what's going to happen there. And I'm a liberal voter.
I guess with the temporary foreign worker issue.
Yeah.
To me, it's gotten entirely out of hand. But I do take your point. Okay. And I've heard this from employers. Okay. We've talked about this when we talk about immigration on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I've heard from employers. Okay. Particularly people in the food service industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hire young people. I put up a sign, help wanted, or I put a thing on the job site. I don't get a lot of applications from 16, 17, 18-year-old students in Canada. Okay?
No, they don't want to
do that. And if I do hire them, Maybe they show up, maybe they don't. And if they do show up, maybe they work and maybe they don't. Okay, this is what I've heard. Whereas the same employer says, let's say I hire an international student who's going to college and they're here from India or they're here from the Caribbean, whatever the case might be. That person is going to show up. They'll work hard. They'll work extra hours if they need to. They'll work on the weekends if they need to because they want the job. They need the job. They're going to send their money back home to their family, and they're more reliable. Do you think there's anything
100%.
to that? 100%.
I 100% agree. I mean, I have noticed, I have a feeling, even with some of my friends, they're maybe taking advantage of sometimes in the sense that, like, they will work those extra hours. And that kind of pisses me off. But at the same time, like my Korean friend, I was with her yesterday. She works 2 jobs. She barely sees her boyfriend because he's working 2 jobs, sometimes 2 jobs in a day. He's from Indonesia. Right. And these people want to work. They want to work hard, and they work hard. Like I've never met anybody that works harder.
At the same time, we have to have an immigration system that meets the social capacity of the country. You would agree with that?
I do.
People need places to live.
I'm also thinking, like, universities and post-secondary are struggling now because they've grown to rely on that.
Well, that's a mess of their own making. That's a mess of their own making because they came to rely on the international student tuition. You see, when a Canadian student goes to university, it's heavily subsidized. Right? Yeah, heavily subsidized, whereas the international student is paying the full freight, like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So they see the international students as cash cows, and now that's dried up for them. That's a mess of their own making. And the provincial governments didn't do themselves any favors. Thank you, Kaylee, by freezing funding for colleges and university and freezing tuition for many, many years. We're going to talk about that next week with Professor Ian Lee when he joins us on Tuesday after the long weekend.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
and have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Yes, it is the Friday Free for All Talk Back. Welcome to hour number 2. I'm Rob Snow. Just going to throw one more. It's just a conversation starter. Okay? But if you have a different topic, we'll roll with that. But Labor Day is on Monday. Labor Day is on Monday. What's your honest opinion of the labor movement these days? You think it's doing a good job standing up for workers? Or is the union movement these days maybe out of touch with the economic realities? And if you were asked to join a union, would you join a union? I wouldn't, but that's just me. What about you? I mean, labor issues. I mentioned this off the top of our show today. Front and center in the news recently. We had the Air Canada strike, very rare, illegal strike for at least one day. Still don't have any Labor Peace of Canada post. We have union leaders and political leaders are constantly battling over remote work, hybrid work, work from home, whatever you want to call it. You have the federal government, especially this Liberal government lately, intervening time and time and time again, 5 times in the last year or so, stopping strikes when they happen by using this labor code section 107. Air Canada, Canada Post, port workers at 3 different ports. Rail workers at both the nation's railways. Every single time the government intervened and ordered people back to work, it was only the Air Canada flight attendants that had the guts to say, no, we're not doing that. And I'm telling you what, the federal government's going to have a heck of a fight on its hands if it does plan to move ahead with a plan to cut 50 or 60,000 federal public service jobs. Let me tell you, those unions are not going to go quietly into the night when the Carney government starts rolling out that plan. Thoughts on the labor movement right now? Labor Day is Monday. 1-833-668-2577. It's just a topic. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it here on Talkback. Friday Free for All, hour number 2. Al is in southern Alberta, waiting patiently there today. Hello, Al.
Hello.
What's on your mind, Al?
Well, I'd like to throw out a conspiracy theory that
great.
the the Liberal governments are being paid or supported to undermine the economy of Canada by dragging their feet and making lip service to things but never doing anything that's really good for our country.
And why would they do that, sir? To what end?
I don't know. Maybe they're getting paid off.
Getting paid off. Okay. All right. That's a pretty wild and wacky conspiracy theory.
There you go. That's why I threw it out there.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that, Al. Thank you. Let's go to Danny in Bedford. Hello, Danny. You're up next. Bedford, Nova Scotia, I'm assuming. Great. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to all the people that keep saying this foolishness that Canadians don't want to work like 16, 17, 18, and all these jobs that are being taken over by immigrants coming into our country. The government is paying the companies to hire these people.
No,
they're not paying. Yes, they are. I own a company, and they wanted to pay me. Yes, they are. They are giving them incentives like $10,000 a year to hire these people. You can say what you want to. I own a business. They came to me, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. They do it all the time. You're telling me that a 16 or 17-year-old girl doesn't want to work in where you buy jeans or the garbage places, whatever they're called, the garbage retail outlets, all these clothing places that always used to have these young guys and girls in there, and now they're all immigrants. You're telling me that they don't want to work in there? It's because they get paid. Like I said, you can say what you want to. They get paid. It doesn't pay the whole salary, but they get money from the government. They're doing it.
You're saying that they're covering off some of the wages, right?
Yes. Exactly what they're doing. And they've been doing it since they started bringing the people in. They give them homes. They give them, well, not homes. I shouldn't say that. They give them places to live. When everybody else is homeless, these people are getting places to live from the governments. And they are doing that all the time.
Okay, that is not my understanding about how the temporary foreign worker program operates, sir. And I have done some digging into that. About how the temporary foreign worker program actually works.
So how did you find out that they work?
How did I find out how it worked? Well, I've been following it for many years. It's quite the process.
No,
first of all, the business has to submit what's known as an LMA. Do you know what that is? Labor market assessment. Labor market assessment costs $1,000. Costs $1,000 for each position.
They called us on the phone.
The federal government did?
And they asked us if we would take in any foreign workers, and we said no. We're happy with who we have.
Well, I'm telling you, this is how the temporary foreign. Okay, maybe I'm telling you this is how the program is supposed to work.
Yes.
You're saying it doesn't work like this, but they're supposed to do a labor market assessment listen, I listen to you. You can be patient enough and listen to me. You ask me a question about how it works. I'm going to tell you how they say it is supposed to work. Okay?
Sorry.
You're supposed to do a labor market assessment. So if you were to hire a temporary foreign worker, you do a labor market assessment for each worker, $1,000 fee for that. You want to hire 5 temporary foreign workers, supposed to cost $5,000. You have to prove that your business is legitimate and not some fly-by-night organization. Now, maybe it's not working that way. Before you do the LMA, you have to post the job that's available on the Canada Job Bank. You have to conduct additional forms of recruiting. You have to reach out to vulnerable youth, Indigenous people, people with disabilities. You have to do that for 4 consecutive weeks. You have to pay the prevailing wage. If it's a unionized workforce, you have to pay the union wage. You have to pay overtime. Your workers have to be covered by workplace insurance. You're supposed to cover the airfare to Canada and home again. You have to provide housing. The employer does. You have to provide health insurance. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's how the temporary foreign worker program is supposed to work. You're telling me it doesn't work that way, then there's something wrong. Then they're not following their own rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the way it's supposed to work. And the question has always been, why are so many businesses more than willing to jump through all these hoops spend all of this money, take all of this time, because they say they can't find workers who want to do these jobs.
Right, and I agree with you on that one. But what if what I'm telling you is true, then they don't have to do all that. They just hire them. They just get them and the government steps in and helps them.
Okay. Look, maybe it works the way you say it works, and maybe you got this phone call, and maybe they offered to subsidize the wage, but under the temporary foreign worker program, they're supposed to go through all of these steps. There's something seriously broken in the labor market. I mentioned this. The X in Toronto, they just had the X in Toronto, the CNE. They had a job fair. 54,000 people showed up for 2 weeks of work. That's a labor market that's a mess right now. Does immigration play a role? You're darn right it does. I'm Rob Snow. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right, deep breaths. Going to try and calm down here. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback Hour. All right, hold on. Okay. All right, feeling better. Blood pressure is a little bit lower. John in Calgary up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Hello, John.
Hey, Rob. Great show as always. What a big topic you've got in front of you. Oh, my goodness. Just want to comment on the bringing people in, foreign workers. You are absolutely right. That's exactly how you do it. Done it myself, and that's how they get the paperwork to come into the country. Otherwise, they don't have the right visas. So you are bang on. I don't know what that other caller was talking from. And as for manufacturing, we choose to buy products that are cheaper and manufactured out of the country. You want to bring manufacturing back? Really easy. Buy things made in Canada. End of story. Anyhow,
okay.
That's not why I was calling.
Okay. Okay. Why were you calling?
I wanted to talk about Air Canada, and I wanted to say I support Air Canada on this. I do not support those that went on strike, and the reason is this, Rob. If you want cheaper flights, the airline has to have certainty of its costs. So let's say you have a 4-hour flight. The airline knows how much time it takes, and they know the staff need, an hour before and after. They wind that into the hourly rate they get paid. They have cost certainty. So that's what you need. As soon as you move to variable costs for the airline, how do your listeners think they're going to price a ticket? It's extremely hard to do. So does the hourly rate for the flight need to incorporate the time either side? Absolutely, and it does. But to say you should go variable would mean that the airline, any airline, would have to build in more profit because you're introducing more potential risk. And that's why I think Air Canada's position on this is the right one.
Okay. Well, I must say, there seems to be a line of thinking. The issue in the Air Canada strike, of course, being unpaid work, right? Unpaid work. Yeah. That the crews were only getting paid when it was kind of wheels up and when they would arrive at the gate again, right? There's a feeling that maybe the public got hoodwinked by CUPE and the Air Canada flight attendants on that, and that it wasn't the issue that it was. For example, it's been pointed out the median, in other words, the middle median compensation for a member of the cabin crew, $54,000 a year, for 70 to 80 hours a month of work. $54,000, like 70 to 80 hours a month. Are you kidding me? Unpaid work. Lots of people do unpaid work. I do unpaid work. I'm working 50, 55 hours a week. Okay, I'm on salary, so I love my job, so I'm working all the time. Teachers. Ask anybody who knows that teachers are doing all kinds of unpaid work, right? They're doing prep for before school. They're staying after school. Nurses are doing all kinds of aftercare before they call it quits for the day. And all kinds of people are doing all kinds of unpaid work. I'm not sure. Maybe we were hoodwinked. I don't know. It certainly tapped into something though with the unpaid work stuff.
Well, yeah, it does, and I don't think we should run a society where we are giving our labor for no reward. I'm not suggesting that at all. But in the example here, and it's great that you love your job, and that's great. That's great. But where people don't and they want to have a job, I'm simply saying the hourly rate for the time that's measured should incorporate some time either side, because that allows certainty for the employer, whoever the employer is, and that's what we need.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, good to hear from you. I will stop here, however. Sorry to the people who are on the line. Just all the topics are so interesting today. We will get to everyone. It's the Friday Free for All Talk Back today. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Dave, up next in Calgary. Friday Free for All Talk Back. Let me have it, Dave. Go ahead. No, Dave. Okay, Mike, up next. Mike.
Oh, hi. Hi, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, about one of the previous callers in regards to foreigners. I don't know who called that guy and who was offering him money. I'm one of those foreigners who waited about a year to get the visa to come to Canada and work for one of the companies. I know the company that I used to work spent almost $20,000 for the lawyers, to submit an applications, to advertise that position, to making sure they did everything possible to hire a Canadian or a Canadian permanent resident before then they can hire me, right? So if that Mr. has some information that sounds to me illegally funding, I guess he should go, to the police and submit the claim, and it's supposed to be verified. If it's true, people are supposed to be.
What was your, if you don't mind, what was your immigration status at the time when you were trying to come here? Did you have a landed immigrant status or?
No.
Was it a work visa, like a temporary work visa, or?
Yeah. So the company who wants to hire me, they applied for a LMIA, and then once they received LMIA, I applied for a working visa. I got 2 years work permit, and unfortunately for me, I got into the time when the COVID hit, and it was kind of nightmare. But I'm here, and today I'm a proud Canadian citizen. So
good for you.
Actually, it's possible if you want, right? And I would say, because I was working in that company at the COVID time, none of the Canadians lost the job because they couldn't, laid off the Canadian if they have a foreigner working for them. So the foreigner would have to leave first, right? And that's correct, and I think that's totally fine. Of course, if you have a foreigner working for you and there is a challenging time, you can lay off a Canadian. You should laying off the temporary workers first. And because I was working for the company at that point of time, nobody lost the job because company spent so much money to bring me in. So they didn't want to lose me, and that's why they kept everyone else. So I think I'm not feeling like so special in that occasion, but you know.
Okay.
The other thing that I would like to say in regards to labor. You know, I think the most important thing for any company is their employee. I'm not thinking that the customer's the most important. No, if you don't have a employee, you can't serve your customers. But at the same time, it's a cooperation between your employer and your employee. You can't take advantage, like unionized workers. Sometimes they see when the economy is not doing well, right? And right now we are in the middle of the storm. And, with everything that's happening around the globe, we have in my opinion, a bit crazy neighbor who's running. Well, not maybe I shouldn't say the crazy neighbor. The a bit crazy president who's running, but that's their business, right? They choose him, and he now wants to change the way how he dealing with other countries, and that's fine. I think that's very good for Canada. Finally realize that we cannot be dependent on U.S. and 75% exports. We have to build our experts all around the globe. And we have to feel
all right,
this
thank you. Well, I have to wrap it up there because we're tight on time and the news is coming up. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday Free for All Talkback. In the home stretch before the long weekend. Let's go to Tom is in Cambridge today. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, how are you, Rob?
I'm hanging in there, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, for the long weekend. What's happening to this country?
What do you
they're
mean?
Militarizing everything. They
What do
want
you
to
mean?
buy
They're militarizing
submarines.
everything.
Well, they
Yeah.
want to buy 3 submarines at billions. They want to buy the planes,
Yes.
billions, and they were doing ships, billions.
Yeah.
For the planes that you do. The Americans spend $20 million just to train the pilot. Okay, now if you take a look at the way what's happening in Ukraine, war has changed. The big thing right now is a lot cheaper if you just get the drones, because you can destroy sections.
Yeah. Well, we're investing in drones too, sir. Yeah. It's a big country, sir. Do you the last time that we bought fighter jets was the 1980s? Do you still have a car in the driveway that was built in the 1980s?
Why do we need them? Why do we need them? Who's
Well,
going
do
to
you have a car in the driveway that was built in the 1980s? Are you driving a Ford Tempo or a Chevy
it doesn't
Cavalier?
matter. I'm saying we don't need them. If
we don't need them.
Russia's
Okay.
going to attack them. Okay, if Russia
All right, so
is going to attack
we have planes that are almost 50 years old, sir. Should we not buy some new ones?
right now, the only thing you need is the big planes to get rid of
We
the
have
pirates.
almost no
This is the number
operational
one.
subs. We have almost no operational subs.
Bought 3 subs from England for 20, 30
No, I believe
billion.
that was
and
I believe that
none
was
of
the
them are
Chrétien
working.
government. The Dud subs, the
Well,
Chrétien government.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it
None
does
of them are
matter
working.
if you're going to slam one government and be wrong about it.
I'm
So
sorry.
you
I
don't-
didn't know that was
okay,
legislative.
so 40-year-old fighter jets is fine. Submarines that don't work,
Why do we need
that's
them?
fine
Who's going
too.
to attack us? Who is
Who's
going to
attack us?
Get the drones going. You can build small, medium, and
Ah,
large.
Tom.
This
You
is
know,
what's
sometimes you make sense, Tom, and sometimes you're totally out to lunch. Today is one of the latter, I'm afraid. Thank you for your call. Peter in Calgary. Let's go to Peter up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Hi, Peter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine, Peter. Thank you. What's on your mind, Peter?
Oh, okay. Well, it's not so much on my mind. I was listening to the conversations, and there were some things that I found that might not be, I don't know. I can only rely on Google. The last person with the submarines, it reminds me on a lot of things, fighter jets, cormorant helicopters, and all that stuff. I would attribute all this to liberal. I can't even find the word for it, but they caused this and then canceled and do it again. And I don't know, the cost went up because of indecisiveness in governments. And obviously every minister wants to have something, but that's just,
most of our allies, Peter, it's such a great point that you made. Most of our allies that got on board with the F-35 program when it first launched, yes, it had problems. Yes, there were cost overruns with that program. Most of our allies who ordered those jets, they're already flying them now. We haven't even decided what kind of fighter jets we're going to buy or whether we're going to buy the F-35s at all. And one of the industrial benefits for Canada was that if you were part of the F-35s, We have a defensive and aerospace industry in this country that employs thousands and thousands of people in very high-paying, high-tech jobs. They didn't just get to work on the Canadian fleet of F-35s that doesn't exist yet, but they got to work on the entire global fleet of F-35s, which would have been of huge economic benefit to this country. But sorry to interrupt. Go on.
The guy you told that he's having a bad day because he has a conspiracy and everything. Yes, I sometimes think the same thing. Why these things that a normal business could accomplish, a government can't. But the first thing was actually there was a lady who called about the canola from Saskatchewan. And I just did a quick Google on that, and that's an industry that employs 200,000 people, $40 billion. The reason, and I think it's a shame the Liberals didn't say anything about that and are not, but Scott Moe is now talking to China and everything. I realize there's a risk with Chinese cars who can become, I don't know, can be programmed or spying. But that the Liberal government didn't say anything is a shame. And I think the reason they're not saying anything is because Alberta and Saskatchewan are not voting Liberal. And that's why they're all up in arms and everybody is at an auto plant. And I totally support this. It's an industry that is equally, it employs more people. Obviously 3 times as many people. But when it comes to the output, that's $40 million versus 46 if Google is right. So I don't know, but it's a lot of voters that obviously vote Liberal. I just wanted to say that it's a shame that the Liberals not even stood up and said, "Okay, we're going to be there to support
and
you."
Again,
and we will
I say, canola is the big money industry that's being hit, and you're bang on there. Hundreds of thousands of jobs up and down. It's not just the farmer; it's the entire supply chain for canola. Right, crushing plants and transportation and everything else. It's also pork is hit with Chinese tariffs. Seafood in Atlantic Canada, China's a huge market for lobster and all kinds of seafood. 25% tariff on lobster. And one of the sad things is, I don't know if people know the history of canola. Canola is a Canadian innovation. We created canola. If you go across the country, in the city of Ottawa, for example, if anybody ever comes to the city of Ottawa, we have a massive farm in the middle of our city. It's owned by the federal government. It's called the Experimental Farm. It's run by Agriculture Canada. They do agricultural research there, and they have these farms They have these farms all across the country. And it was at these farms where Canadian agricultural researchers in the 1970s, they created canola. They bred canola. And now it's prized all over the world for its oil and its meal. I mean, it's all in the name. Can for Canada, Ola for oil, canola. It's the only major oilseed crop that was ever developed entirely in Canada. We are the largest exporter of it in the world. It's our second most cultivated crop after wheat. I mean, it's like, and as you say, tens of billions of dollars to the economy. And yet we seem to be sacrificing our farmers in the West for an EV industry in Ontario that barely even exists.
Well, it's a voter base though over there. So that was just my point here. I want to, just because I know I'm not going to have a lot of time. Somebody mentioned that this is all happening now because of Trump. When you go and look at the history of our GDP over 10 years, it's a total failure, and it has nothing to do with Trump.
Okay, thank you for your call. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Talk back, Friday Free for All on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yes, it is Friday Free for All, so we're wide open. We follow your lead during the Friday Free for All Talkback. Wayne, up next. You're on the air, Wayne. What's on your mind, Wayne?
Well, today, I know I've been listening to your show on that, and I just like, the other fellows are talking about our military and that, where we need to upgrade everything. Well, that everything does wear out, and it's just one of these things. We're spending billions and billions going to other countries to, buy from them. It's just, you think with, needing jobs here and that we should be able to build our own, ships, subs, planes, stuff like that. And that would, help the economy.
Well, we are building our own ships. It's like the never-ending work project in Halifax, right? The shipbuilding program there.
Yeah,
they've
but
spent,
I heard about the subs.
I'm not sure what the total is, but they've spent a significant sum of money already at the Irving Shipyard in Halifax, or they have yet to build a ship there.
Yeah. So no, that just was my point. Like I say, like this stuff gets sent out to other countries to be built, where maybe we should try doing more at home. Like we do have trained people, educated people and everything else that can, have the knowledge to do that stuff. But
yes.
But yeah, really, that's all I really wanted to say is that maybe we should try to, keep some of the more work into Canada, where.
Okay.
So,
fair,
anyway,
fair enough point. I think, the caller, Tom, was saying, well, we don't need submarines. Well, we don't need, we're not going to have submarines. The Royal Canadian Navy is just not going to have submarines. We don't need ships. Okay, well, should we just disband the Royal Canadian Navy? We don't need a Royal Canadian Navy? Should we?
No, we need our own, armed forces and that. I mean, it's just one of those things. And like you said, the other fellow saying putting all that money out for that. Well, like I said before, things wear out. Things are outdated. I mean, like if you go buy a friggin', a computer, 3 years or 2 years down the road, it's obsolete, really.
Yeah.
Anything wears out. So I just think that.
I mean, you think about the F-35s have been flying for almost as long as I have been alive, sir, and I'm in my 50s.
Yeah. Well, I'm older
this
than you.
Is why I say,
remember...
are you still driving a Chevy Caprice?
Well, actually, you might laugh. I've got one of my cars, a '79. I've got a newer vehicle too, but then I've got a '56. I've got a '66.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
But I mean, I do drive older. I enjoy driving them.
Yeah. But you see my point, though, right? Should after a certain while, 45 years or so, can we not go and buy a few airplanes without everybody losing their minds?
I think we should. I'm just trying to say that maybe we should try doing it more in-house than
fair enough.
Offshore. So, but that's all the point I just wanted to bring up in that, and I'll let you go on and you have a good day.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I take your point to heart. Sure thing. Justin in Calgary. Hello, Justin. Up next. Hi, Justin. What's on your mind?
Well, hello, sir. How are you on this fine day?
Just fine. Yeah. Could be a little warmer. Well, it's kind of rainy and cool here. We're getting Calgary weather in this part of the country. Send us some of your weather that you're getting now. Send it this way.
Oh, in Calgary, it's probably about 26, 28. It's pretty good. So, no one can complain.
But you haven't had much of a summer there, as I understand it. So, yeah.
No, but I'm fine with it. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay. All right. So you're used to it then. Okay. So what do you want to talk about today?
We don't tan, we rust. I just wanted to bring up the fact, this is from a little bit further earlier in the discussion, but I'm an immigrant to this country, and I came here from the United States on my own volition, and two things. One, there is actually a lot of there is a lot of prejudice with immigrants. I've noticed a lot. And the only reason, what I bring up whenever I hear it, I say, well, I'm an immigrant too. The only difference is my skin color is the right skin color. That's, and I don't mean to be, woke, so to speak, like that. But, but honestly, being an American coming and becoming a Canadian, it's a completely different experience.
I'm sure it is. But again, I would circle back to what we've been talking about when immigration comes up. Okay. The immigration policy has to be tailored to the social capacity of the country to handle the immigration load. We need housing for people. You need housing for people. Look at what has happened to the housing market, in particular the rental market.
Well, even in Calgary. I mean,
you
honestly,
need healthcare spaces. You need education spaces where people have to go to school, right? And where's everybody going to work? And where's everybody going to work? And
I came here due to capacity problems within your labor market. I'm a pilot, and I can comment on the CF-18s. Let me tell you, we need new planes, and we need defense. But
right.
When you're talking about that,
my point is, even the government, even this liberal government, which has not managed the immigration system very well, and there was once a great consensus in this country that immigration was not only necessary but vital to the country's future. It has now, that opinion has totally been turned on its head, and Canadians are openly hostile to immigration. Now they've done polling. There's half of the people in the country are saying we should accept no immigrants at all. It never used to be in that way in Canada, and even this government that has made such a mess of our immigration system is recognizing it needs to get it fixed.
I mean, I have to say that I'm going to have to make a trip down south, and I'm very nervous about just even being an American citizen still and being locked up. Or
I've got to stop you there. Thank you for your call, though. I do appreciate your point, though. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talk Back on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Well, very busy today on the Friday free-for-all talkback hour. We did not get much of a chance, however, to talk about Labor Day, which is coming up on Monday. I wonder what it's going to be like, the mood on this Labor Day. They're expecting 25,000 people to show up at the big Labor Day parade in Toronto. I guess I would just say this in closing, with Labor Day coming on Monday and so many labor issues being in the news of late. Never been a union guy, never been in a union, never been asked to join a union, not looking to join a union now. Don't see myself ever joining a union. That's just me. But I would say this. I do not discount the progress that has been made for workers and workers' rights and working conditions because of the union movement in Canada. And that's from a right-of-center guy. And to me, my own opinion, and my own opinion only, when it comes to workers' rights, many, many things that we may take for granted now, some things still have to be non-negotiable. Minimum wages have to be non-negotiable. Workplace health and safety standards have to be non-negotiable. Workers need to be protected and feel safe when they're on the job. That's why we need programs like workers' compensation, non-negotiable. We need employment insurance programs. And yes, people deserve vacation pay. And women deserve pay equity. And women shouldn't be laid off just because they get pregnant and want to start a family. None of this happens without the labor movement. None of it happens without the labor movement. It was the labor movement that fought for those gains in workers' rights. And we really shouldn't forget that. And again, that's from a guy who's not a big union guy. I'm more of a right-of-center guy. So look, enjoy your Labor Day Monday. Maybe go march in a parade, solidarity, whatever you plan on doing. I hope you have a great long weekend. We will take the Labor Day Monday off. Not marching in a parade or anything. But I will be back on Tuesday along with Curtis. Thank you for all your work this week, Curtis. Great job as always. The latest breaking news coming up next. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.